everybody, welcome to the May edition of Kimberbell Fill in the Blank. Welcome to So Classic Fabrics. I'm Trish and I'm really excited that you guys are joining us today. So this month's project is a cute little man bag. It has a little mustache and it opens up and it has a cute little lined inside. Now I don't know about you guys, but my man, this would never work for him. It's a little bit too small. So if you have a little one in your life, or even for yourself, you could use this little tote for all kinds of little things, sewing notions, makeup, nail polish, anything that you could really use. But I really like the design and the style and the size of it, but just not necessarily for man things. We're using a blank today that looks like this, and it's going to be a fully lined blank, just like we used last month with the cactuses. A blank is anything that you purchase specifically intending to be embroidered on. So here at the store we have embroidery blank animals, we have our embroidery fill in the blank monthly products, so there's lots of fun things from blanks. So I took one of these blanks and I made a little pouch of my own. So you can see that it's the same exact fabric, but it's all in how you manipulate, sew it, and put it together. So let's get started and we'll start embroidering. As usual, I've gone ahead and I've printed out my PDF file with all of our instructions. Everything's done in color and is easily done step by step. I skipped a few steps and made a few things a little bit easier just so that we can move along on our video. So I've gone ahead, I have a 5x7 hoop today, and it does have the sticky back stabilizer in it. And the very first stitch sequence on the file is going to be your placement line. So I've got my machine all threaded up. Today I'm using the Memory Craft 550E, and it's an embroidery only machine, real easy to use. Simple controls and has a beautiful stitch quality. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch out my very first color. A little bit hard to see, but as you see in the frame, this is going to be a marking line. There's a long white line here and then a center line here. I probably should have used a different color for demonstration purposes, but this is all you need to make sure that your design is going to be lined up properly. So you need to take a piece of fusible interfacing and put it on the right hand side, reverse side of your blank. So when you have your blank, your zipper pull is going to be on your left hand side, and then the piece that faces you, you're going to line with some fusible interfacing. It also has you draw a line down here that is, I believe, 1.5 inches from the zipper line. Let me double check that for you. Yep, 1.5 inches from the center of the zipper and your middle of the fabric line, your median line. So what you're going to do is then you're going to line up, you're going to go ahead and line up that 1.5 inch line that you drew first and your median midline here to line up with the stitches you just made. Then simply fold it over and you're ready to begin stitching. So your next stitch is going to be the outline for this cute little mustache. Just like we did last month with our raw edge applique, we're going to be doing the same thing with the mustache this month. So you have a piece of embroidery leather, which is really just a nice vinyl that's easy to stitch through. You're going to go ahead and make sure you cover the entire placement line of your mustache. If you'd like to use tape to go ahead and hold that down, feel free to do so. However, with such a small design like this, sometimes it's easier to just hold it with your hand. But don't stitch your finger. All right. Remember last month we talked about the importance of having duck-billed scissors. Guess what? You're going to be using them again this month. So if you're not familiar with duck-billed scissors, they look like regular scissors, but they have a bend to them, and they also have a flange on the side here. And when you're cutting things close, you want to make sure that that duck bill or that flange is on the inside towards your design. So you want to be sure to cut that design as close to that line as possible. Once you have that trimmed to the distance away from the stitching line that you like, that you feel comfortable, we're going to go ahead and stitch the words that say man bag. And that's it for the embroidery on this part. The big part comes when you go ahead and try to turn that into that little box, which is going to be a whole lot easier than you think. Now we've gone ahead and we've finished our embroidery, and we have our raw edge applique mustache and man bag. Let's go ahead and take this out of the hoop and we'll head on over to the sewing machine. All right, now we're over here at our sewing machine. Today I'm using the 9450. It's one of my favorite machines because it has the built-in walking foot, and it really does make projects like this that's going to have thicker layers a little bit easier to move through. So one of the things that you'll find included in your kit is a specialty kind of stabilizer. One side is going to be sticky and the other side is fusible. We're going to be using that on the handle, and we're also going to be using that on attaching the bottom. Today we're going to be using cork for those pieces. I've gone ahead and I've already pre-fused things just to make it a little bit easier and less time consuming. So we're going to go ahead and we fused a piece on to the back of one side of the cork of the handle, and it's fused on there, and the shiny paper side is sticking out. So when you peel that, you'll find that it's now sticky. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put the other piece of cork wrong sides together. So that it's two-sided. Then you're going to top stitch along the outside however you choose. If you'd like to use a decorative stitch or if you just want to use a straight stitch, the whole purpose is just so that it will stay together and give it a clean and neat appearance. I'm just going to run 2 white line stitching down just like I have in the sample. Here's my handle with 2 decorative stitches right down the side, piece of cake. So the next thing we're going to do is prepare the bottom part of the bag. As I said, we're using this beautiful cork today, and it's real easy to sew through. It has a really nice finish to it, and it's not as heavy as traditional cork might seem to be. It's very lightweight and super easy to sew through. Okay, in your kit, you're going to have 2 pieces about the same size, and they are being used for the bottom part of the bag. I've gone ahead and fused our stabilizer on the back, so now all I have to do is peel the sticky from the back and apply it to the bag and get ready to go ahead and sew that on. So I'm going to go ahead and peel the paper, and I'm going to stick it 3¼ inches from the zipper line. Now I've already pre-measured this, so I know where that 3¼ is. Go ahead and stick that down. It's okay if it sticks over on the end. Flip it around. Go ahead and stick that again 3¼ inches away from that zipper line. Just like so. Now I'm going to go ahead and add a decorative touch, just like I did on the handle, both here and here. and then I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to change my thread over, and we're going to start sewing. Be careful when you're sewing your decorative line down here that you don't catch the lining. You don't want that in behind your bag. All right, our next step is to trim the bottom of our project 6¼ inches from the center of the zipper line. I'm going to go ahead and trim off these ends because we want it to all be the same size when we get finished. If you have a lot to trim off, go ahead and trim it off. If you have just a little bit to trim off, trim that too. You can also do this when you're trimming the bottom, piece 6¼ inches from your middle of your zipper. But I like to do it with scissors because I like it to be a little bit more precise than with the rotary cutter. All right, so now we want to make sure that our lining lines up with the outside on both the front and back of our man bag pouch. We're not ready to trim our zippers yet, but we are ready to open it. And the reason you're going to want this open is because this is going to be a bag that's turned inside out. So if your zipper is not open, you'll sew this shut and you won't be able to get it open. So now that I've trimmed each side to 6¼ inches away from the center of the zipper, I've opened my zipper halfway, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put the two sides of the lining together and the two sides of the fronts together so that right sides are together. You're going to go ahead and you're going to stitch a line right along the bottom here on the outside, and then stitch a line right here on the inside. This is going to create our lining that's going to go inside the bag. Now your bag will look like this. You'll have a sewn seam here, and you'll have a sewn seam here. Here's the importance of having your zipper open. You're going to go ahead and open up your bag and make sure that that lining drops right inside the bag. Once your zipper is open, we're going to go ahead and we're just going to run a scant 1/4 inch seam line along the bottom just to make sure that that lining piece stays attached to that front piece. Make sure when you're stitching you only have one piece of lining, not two. Go ahead and repeat that for the other side. Now that I have those down and secure, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to change my thread to a thread that matches the color of the outside of the bag, and I'm going to put that in both my top and bottom. I want to make sure that when my bag is put together that everything, once you have this line stitched and this line stitched, you're going to go ahead and turn your bag right side out. Once your bag is turned right side out, make sure that that lining is tucked down inside, because now you're going to sew them together. So your bag should look something like this, with your lining tucked deep down in. Now we're going to go ahead and open this up, and we're going to sew it together. So with wrong sides together, you're going to go ahead and sew down each seam. Your zipper is going to be in the middle. I'll show you how. Once your lining is tucked down into your bag, you're going to kind of make a little sleeping bag pouch, and you want that zipper to be in the middle. So when you look at it, you'll see that the lining is wrong side to the wrong side of the outside of the bag, and the zipper is in the middle. You'll see a very clear picture of this in step 21 on page 10. Make sure that your zipper is open halfway. This is a great time to use wonder clips. With materials like cork and vinyl, anything that's a little bit thicker, it's hard to put pins through, but by using wonder clips, you don't have to worry about it. Once you have your little pouch made, you're going to sew a quarter of an inch seam along this side and again on this side. Remember that one side of your zipper is going to be closed and the other side of the zipper is going to be open. So stitching over the open side, be careful that you don't leave too much of a gap in between your zipper. Also, remember to go slow over the zipper teeth. As long as you're using the vinyl zipper instead of metal, which has already come in on this blank, you can go over it with your sewing machine and a regular needle. Just go slow. Now that you have your little pouch, you're going to want to go ahead and you're going to make box corners. In the instructions, it instructs you to make box corners. It's very important in this project. When you make your box corner, you're going to measure 1 inch from the seam. Don't measure 1 inch from the edge because your measurement will be wrong because it'll be different on each corner. So you're going to go ahead and measure 1 inch from the seam line. Go ahead and do that on all 4 corners. Now that you've marked and clipped all 4 corners of your bag, it's time to put your handle in. So on the side with the open zipper tape, you're going to put the handle into the bag and slide it through so that it kind of sticks out like this. You're then going to go ahead and make your first box corner. To do that, you're going to open up this box corner and you're going to make it flat like this. Then you're going to take your handle and you're going to center it right in the middle there. You're going to then repeat the same thing on the opposite side. This is another great time to use wonder clips to hold all those layers together without having to wrestle with it too hard. Feel free to trim up that edge so that you have a nice straight seam, and repeat for the other side. Now that you've done the same thing on the other side, Go ahead and trim all the extra threads, the extra length of the zipper, and all of those things to make the inside of your bag look neat and complete. Once everything is trimmed, go ahead and turn it inside out. This is where you'll be happy that you had your zipper halfway. Use a blunt tipped edge, if you need to push out the corners. Because the lining is already attached, the lining will push out at the exact same time. And here you can see we have finished our little man bag, complete with a handle and a nice cork bottom. On behalf of all of us here at So Classic Fabrics, thank you so much for joining us in this Kimberbell fill-in-the-blank embroidery series. Remember, you don't have to have an embroidery machine to do these projects. There are beautiful illustrated instructions doing them by hand as well. However, doing it on the machine is so much more fun. Thank you so much, and we appreciate you.